Joanne Smith. I don't have a business, but I'm involved in my community and my church and concerned, like she says, about the young people and the direction of our city.
Renee Anderson, I do have a salon, so I'm boutique, it's called Healthcare and Fashion. Some jewelry, clothing, accessories, do the hair. I come because I like to stay in the know what's going on, networking with other business professionals and learning of new businesses coming about in Topeka. There's a lot of changes that's happening and they're occurring fast. And so, yeah, staying in the know and knowing who our black business partners are out here in Topeka is a good thing. It's important to one another.
Full cycle entrepreneur.
I'm Mac Walker. I work for Equity Bank here in Topeka, and Willie and I talked quite a bit, and he's a customer of the bank, so he invited me to come out to kind of get to know what's going on.
My name is Cheryl Newton. I do have a business. I customize well, looking for a storefront right now to start teaching little classes.
I'll wait for everyone else.
Okay. We'll just come up here.
I'm Glenda Overstreet, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for Heart and Vision here in Topeka. And we'll a little bit more about that.
I'm just here, man. I'm Mel Du Bois. I'm here just to meet some of the black business owners.
Very good. Very good. Patron, yeah.
I'm Raman Evans, my partner Tracy, and I own the Fierce Life Wellness Health and Wellness Company. She's a health coach, do individual group health coach program, programs.
I'm Keith Berry. I own Paradise Donuts here in town, street on 6th Street. We've been there for almost 2 years, so we're looking for a lot of future growth this year. We're going to be adding a lot of new things and hope that we can grow and see a lot of new faces there this year, especially from our own community, because been there almost 2 years. 90% of my business is primarily non-African Americans. And so, you know, I would like to see a little bit more diversity and supporting of black businesses.
Absolutely.
My name is Carla Berry. I support my brother in his business. I'm a professional at Payless Shoe Store. So I like to come out, try to support everybody, networking, and get the word out for whatever's going on. People to be a part of. Also a part of the Women's Network.
And I'm Lazone Graves with IBSA, just part of the sponsor to get this back up and going. And, you know, from the perspective of Glenda being here and Go Topeka and the resources that are available now that wasn't in the past, the position that you played with Entrepreneur Synergy and Keto being in one of the first, you know, courses that can look how far Sherry had gone through, look how far we have gone through and where we're at now, and we have another 14 years to do better.
Well, you know, I'm really pleased. I mean, when I saw you walk in, those of you who were in the entrepreneurial center training class, and you're still part of that business or ownership structure, that is what it's all about. And that consistency and continuity is what other people will see. So I thank you for your energy, and I know Lazone has been a real trooper, you know, beating the drums in the community to ensure that, you know, we continue to keep ourselves focused on just that. So thank you very much, Lazone. It's been a while. It's been a while since I have really engaged with other businesses. I went off, as some of you may know, for a while and did some other consulting activities, and also was part of a education services network. I'm still kind of doing some teaching, but for right now, I am serving as a quality manager with a healthcare company. It's a behavioral healthcare company. And I do that kind of on a full-time basis, doing the data analysis and also doing some quality management. But also, I can't let go of my entrepreneurial side of me. And so I have been engaged in my business consulting and design company for probably about 12 years now. And so I continue to work in the areas of providing business consulting, also in doing some writing. And then I also do some adjunct teaching for Ottawa University and Topeka University. So I try to keep as busy as I can, and I try to kind of keep as engaged as I can. But sometimes, those things don't always kind of come together. One of the things I am, though, very passionate about is what the legislature is doing, each and every time that the legislation is in session. And one of my personal thoughts is that whenever they're in session, don't sleep heavily. You need to be able to sleep very light and be able to monitor some of the things that's going on. One of the models that I have with respect to the overall legislative process is this: if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that's basically saying that if we're not sitting at the table watching what's going on from the standpoint of the legislature, the bills that are being passed, being a part of the committee structures, being a part of those meetings where those decisions are being made, more than likely we're going to be left out. So rather than to give you, the various legislative bills to any real detail, I thought it would be advantageous for me to give to you the site of where you can go so that you can kind of find that process for yourself. Because each and every one of you have your respective businesses, and you have a specific area of interest that may impact your business. There are, of course, some that are pretty universal, or there are some that are umbrella type activities. But for the most part, you might find that there's going to be some that are directly related to what it is that you do. So does everybody have a handout, this handout that I'm providing? We're going to just kind of go through this. And for those of you, I put on the handout the site, the website of where you can go in and you can find how you pull up all information regarding the legislature. I don't know if you all are aware or not, but a lot of the committees that meet, actually you can chime in and hear them on audio. So you don't necessarily, if you're working in your respective businesses, you can just chime in and hear them that way on your iPhone, for instance. You don't necessarily have to be there, but I certainly encourage you, if there's any legislation that is being heard or testimony that is being received, I certainly hope that you're part of that overall structure, that you're there, providing that information to them in person. So if you look at this particular website, the website is www.kansaslegislature.org. You can go in and it will tell you immediately where you are with the sessions. And the reason why it's important for you to look up here to see what year it is, because they have at any time, you can pull this up and it might be 2016, 2015. So you want to make sure that you have the appropriate names of those that are on. It's very, very sensitive. So let's see if I can go back here.
Put the back foot on the far left.
Okay. So when we're looking at the very first thing I want to do is look at the leadership. Here we're looking at House leadership. This is actually all of the representatives here that are listed. This shows the Speaker of the House, Ron Franklin. And then we have the Speaker Pro Tem, we have the House Majority Leader, we have all of these individuals in the leadership. This is for the House. Then we have the Minority Caucus Chair, and that's Barbara Ballard. And we have those that are a part of the minority side. So we have all of the various individuals noted here as part of the House leadership, okay? Now, if we go to the Senate, guys, bear with me, I'm still learning this thing.
Sometimes you just tap it twice and it'll pop up.
Then we have the President of the Senate, we have the Vice President, this looks like it might be, okay. We have all of the individuals noted here. Those that, if they're the majority, are usually listed first, minorities are usually listed later on. But if you look at that, what immediately stands out to you with respect to leadership? There's actually a lack of diversity, and the reason why is that we become the victims of legislation because of the lack of involvement. And, you know, it just goes back to what I mentioned earlier, that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And so with respect to that, you know, I think that's going to be the overall crux of what this discussion is going to be about, is ensuring that we understand how we can go in and retrieve legislative information, where we can pull bills, how we can get involved, how we can be a part of petitions, how we can go and ensure our testimony at some of the committee meetings. Another way to look at it is Topeka is actually located in the 2nd Congressional District. And our senator, our representative actually is, our representative is actually, I don't know if I can get that, her name is Lynn Jenkins. Okay, and Lynn's office is actually located in Washington, D.C. And, you know, Lynn is a noted Republican, but I have found that there are really some sensitivity and there's some receptivity that she has with respect to issues that I'm concerned with as a Democrat. And I have found her, last May, I had an opportunity to visit with her at her office, and I found her to be very, very concerned about some of the very same things that you all will be concerned with as small business owners. Now, yes.
She was actually here last week, presenting to us.
Oh, good.
And talking about some issues.
Good.
Taxes and stuff.
Absolutely, because you know, she does have a passion there for small businesses. So I just wanted to make sure that you all know that she is in the 2nd Congressional District. In addition, we have those that are representing Topeka. We have Pat Roberts, who is the senior senator. Jerry Moran is also the junior senator. We have 4 representatives, one of which Lynn Jenkins is one. Roger Marshall is one, Kevin Yoder, and then Ron Estes. Now, all 4 of those positions are up for election this year. And so the reason why I bring this to you is it is very important for us to be mindful of those positions that are open, and to ensure that we have individuals in those positions that we can somewhat relate to, or who at least can take forth our agenda and be able to make some real sound decisions as they move forward. The House of Representatives is 2 years, and then the senators have a 4-year term. When we look at it from a local perspective, we have precinct committee persons. Now, a lot of people may say, well, precinct committee people, how beneficial are they? They can be quite beneficial. And the reason why, I'll just put it from a personal standpoint. Years ago, I ran for one of the county commissioner seats because that position was being vacated by, what's his name? He's now Judge
Miller?
Dick Miller. The position really was voted upon by individuals that were in the precinct committees, the ward captains, precinct committee persons. And most of the district had vacant seats. So if people are not in those seats, they cannot vote. The only thing that is required from a precinct committee person, you can call your party, either you're a Democrat, you're Republican, or whatever, you can call your party chair and ask to be appointed into one of those precinct committee positions. And your responsibility then would be to reach out and to ensure that people within your particular precinct or in your particular community, come on in, that they're available to vote. So you may go door to door, you may talk to individuals, you may hand out brochures, you may even put out signs, whatever the case may be. But it's really hands-on. But it's such a vital position, especially when you're looking at some of the positions such as the county commissioner, the city council, all of those positions. And so I just would like for you to, if you're not familiar with that, to really look at it and do some research and consider being a part of that structure. If you want to start there, that'll be a great place to start. Then looking at a ward captain. Ward captain is basically that. They're the captain of the precinct committee persons. So basically they're responsible for generating meetings or making contact with the precinct committee persons and then ensuring that they have the information and the materials that they need to be able to reach out into the various communities. We talked about the audio availability of the committee meetings. And we have certain bills that I wanted to identify, just kind of overall. We're not going to talk in any real length, but I do want to pull these up so you can at least see how you can access these. You can go here, and you can see all the Senate bills. All of the bills are listed here. You can also look at the various committees. They have the various standing committees. They have it for the House, and they have it for the Senate. Because you're small business owners, you may want to look at what the House is doing with respect to small business. They're creating a joint economic development committee, and you'll find that some of these bills are on both sides, the House and the Senate. And usually that's done to be able to show some degree of unity to some degree, but a lot of times those bills are completely different to some degree because each person or each side has its own take on what that bill should look like. But the fact that they're both wanting to create this joint economic development committee says something. I went in and looked at it and I said, okay, this is a bill that looks like both sides want to really invest in. So let's see what it looks like. So if you go in and look at that, it'd be interesting because most of the bill, the majority of the bill, is setting up structure for how many folks are going to sit on that committee. That's it. These are the kind of things, so it's a political struggle. You know, it's all about politics. You know, these are the kind of things we need to be mindful of. we're looking at voting rights amendments. You know, you go in here, you look at, they have various committees, and these bills go through these committees. The elections committees, for instance, meet every Wednesday, 9:30, and they talk about bills that are there that affect the overall voting process. And last week it's very interesting because they had a discussion, and many people were coming in as either you come in as a proponent or you come in as an opponent to the bill. Or there are some persons that come in neutral. But you go in and you talk with respect to your side, and they sit there patiently and they listen, and they may ask you questions. But it's very important for them to see you because they really are trying to reach out. And in fact, I've had a couple of senators to call me and say, you know, I'm trying to pass this bill. I really would like for you to come and speak on this if you could. So I said, well, send me the bill. So because you know you have to do your homework, look at the bill and see if it's something that you feel committed to. Because if it's not something that I can put my stamp on or say I really can bind into this, I don't go to testify for it. You know, so I think it's very important for each and every one of us to be able to utilize the tools that's available here. So you'll be surprised how many people have never accessed this site before. You know, just going in and just spending some time, as much time as you possibly can, and specifically as it relates to small business. For instance, yes.
So I know that last year when they were getting ready to do away with the LLC, we actually called for audiences with the individuals that and asked them, you know, told them the good and bad, what we perceived as was the good and bad for small business. And they said they listened. And some did support it and some didn't, but we were able to kind of put our position out there.
Exactly.
They will make an appointment with you. We had them come to us prior to the session starting and ask us a couple of things about small business and what we got that we can focus on. So they represent you. You can call for an audience.
Exactly. And most importantly, it is recorded. Your testimony is recorded. So you actually can go back across time and pull that record as to whether you supported a particular stance or not. And I think that's vitally important as well. One of the most important things is that you get an opportunity to see which one of those in your district how they're voting. And that's important because then that tells you how you should vote next time. You know, I mean, it's all about, I really believe that they do want to hear from you. But one of the things I think is that they're very comfortable that they don't hear from a number of us sitting in this room. Okay? Or, you know, people that look like us, they don't hear from us enough. Yes.
Is there any possible way in the future, because there's the Black Legislative Caucus, and they vote for us, even though Senator Olitha may be voted in by people in Wichita, she still votes for us. That impacts us right here. Mm-hmm. Any way that through that Black Legislative Caucus, do they ever meet, and is maybe any way of them coming here to maybe see that we are here meeting as a group? And
I'm glad you brought that up because I brought that up last week about asking about the Black Legislative Caucus, and they have not met for some time. So I reached out to the chair and said that we would really like to engage in some dialogue and to push forward some of the legislative priorities that we have. And in order to do that, we need to have the embrace of the Black Legislative Caucus. And so she indicated that, she would be a part of a program that the Topeka chapter of Links, along with some community partners, are having. We're going to have a legislative day at the Capitol. That's going to be on March 7th. So they're going to be there to be introduced and to also talk about some of the hot topics, if you will, with respect to legislative issues.
Is there something on February, the Kansas Black?
Yes, there will be. February 15th is the Kansas African American
Legislative Day.
Legislative Day,
Yeah.
and then the Links and Friends will have their Legislative Day March the 7th.
And I'd mention that because there was a time when Senator Olita, several times they were trying to get some type of supplier diversity or Kansas small business procurement
Yes.
type of thing. And there were a lot more people who came on the day of the testimony from Wichita and Kansas City
Yes.
than right here. And I think that she had gotten it into the committee, but the lack of force showing of people, I think that might have swayed why it didn't go any further.
I think you're right. That's one of the things too. I think from a representative standpoint, the only one that I can remember as far as an African American legislature that has been there in the most recent years has been Reverend Jim Scott. And he was there in kind of like an interim capacity. I don't recall that there's been any black representatives from this Topeka area that has actually been in the House of Representatives or the Senate. And if I'm wrong, let me know. It was years ago.
I've been around.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Marshall was a representative. He was also an entrepreneur and owned a operation shop.
And what was his first name? Glenda, what was his first name?
William
Marshall.
Marshall. And William was quite an advocate here too.
And I think one of the things that we need to kind of focus on that a lot of us are not educated around this topic. And maybe we should put together some forums around that so that we can be educated and get individuals ready for local and state positions, and let them know what boards are out there they can sit on and where they can go if they want to be involved.
And that's where it starts, is your personal investment in learning the infrastructure. You've got to start there and just read as much as you possibly can. Go and dive into those bills and see. A lot of those bills are only 2 pages. I mean, there's most of them are very short, and so they're bills that, and then plus they have a summary of those bills, and you will see here that I did, and I'm gonna hurry up and you have a question?
The Kansas African American Affairs Commission.
Yes.
Do you know anything about what's going on with it right now?
I know that the Kansas African American Affairs Commission is actually working. Kenya Cox is the executive director there, and I know that she is working with us on the Links Legislative Day at the Capitol, and I'm pretty sure that she's involved in the Kansas African American, Legislative Day on February the 15th. So, keep in mind too, from a political standpoint, we have that office and it's one person running the show. And there's just not a lot of mileage you can get from one person running the show. So that's why it takes,
She has a board and a commission.
She needs, yes, exactly. She needs some support from the community, because they've been allowed to water that particular commission down, and there's not been any real waves made about it.
Who is from Topeka?
There's not anyone. Oh, is she now? Oh, okay, because
Dr. Nick.
she may have just come in.
In the last 2 years.
Yeah. Before it was Patrick Woods. He was Patrick, and then Harry had rotated off. Deborah also rotated off. But
Are
I
there
know
any
Patrick-
bills that, as a community, we should be taking a look at really close and following?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they're listed here, and I have them so that you can then go in and go into this website and look at them. We have Senate Bill 64, that is a bill that is providing consideration for employment to people with records of conviction. Because we know that sometimes in our African American community, we have individuals who have been incarcerated, and they need to be able to have that ability to get back into the workforce. Many times they go into small businesses. So this is one that is very important for us to look at. Senate Bill 133, where we're looking at requiring E-Verify, which is kind of a verification process for certain public contracts. So if you're looking at contracts, then what they're going to do is they're going to send you through this E-Verification system to ensure that. And then the misclassification of employees to avoid withholding taxes or unemployment contributions is also one. The Senate Bill 177, Hiring Kansas First, is a bill that I definitely support. And House Bill 2038, which is exempting certain veterans and current members of armed forces from paying certain business filing fees. I definitely support that because I know that there's been several programs with our veterans trying to get into small businesses, and I know that in Texas, it was very successful. I worked with Cedar Valley College there and went down there for a program that worked with veterans to get up and going in their respective small businesses. And the place was packed. And they were there every day that we were teaching that class. So, you know, lots of commitment there in Texas. And I would really love to see that same commitment here in Kansas. House Bill 2050, creating that joint committee on economic development. You know, it's there to provide an infrastructure, but no real teeth, no real substance identified there. And so that's when it becomes important for you as small business owners to be a part of that. And then House Bill 2057, moving that workforce development department from the Department of Commerce to the Department of Labor. Now, that seems pretty benign, but guess what? That department is twice as big as the Department of Commerce. What do you think is going to happen when that transition takes place?
It used to
It's
be
going to
under.
be bogged down.
It used to be under the Department of Labor.
It's going to be bogged down. I mean, look at the overall process of where we are with the Department of Labor right now. If you want to know about, you know, how many, the breakdown of the race and the classification and non-classified employees, go to the Workforce Development Report. They have one in that was dated in February 2016. The next one will come out in 2017. Will come out next month, I think. You know, go in, very interesting because it does provide not only the breakdown of how much those positions get paid, but also how many African Americans are in certain positions or certain departments with the state. And